Okay, welcome everyone to this session where we are going to be talking about Trello for product managers, Trello as a PM tool. Today we are going to look at how you, as a PM, a product manager, can use Trello to manage tasks and to create and to collaborate with your team to basically create your workflows, build your backlogs, manage your sprints, track your progress, and in general align with your team. So by the end of today's class, you should be able to know exactly how to set up Trello to support your day-to-day work as a PM. And we're going to make this a bit practical. So um sit tight. All right, so here's what we are going to learn today from the very beginning. First of all, we'll start with authentication process. You see how to create an account, how to set up your workspace, and lots more. After that, we'll cover everything that makes Trello useful to a product manager, how the core parts of Trello works, how to structure your board, how to turn your cards into real tasks, and many more interesting things on Trello. But before we get into that, let us just look at some basic things. So there are plenty tools out there, good tools, plenty good tools, product management tools out there, and they all promise to help you get organized. They all promise to help you do things more smoothly. But here's the unique thing about Trello. Trello stands out because of its simplicity and productivity. Trello doesn't overwhelm you with different types of features, and it doesn't require a full week or an entire month of onboarding just to, figure it out or figure out where to start and how to start. We know that as product managers, your actual work involves keeping track of multiple moving parts. You've got your backlogs growing by the day. You have to sync with your designers and your engineers. You need to respond to your stakeholders as well. And you're also juggling different sprints and deadlines, and unexpected bugs are also coming up with your QA/QC. With all of these going on, you need a tool, right, that helps you bring all of them into one clear, manageable space without you exerting too much energy on the tool itself. And that's where Trello comes in. Let's take a look at how Trello supports you in four major ways. And the first one is visual clarity. Trello uses a Kanban style board layout, as you can see on the image. What that means is that you get to see your work the way it moves, right? From left to right, from your idea to done. You get to see every moving part of it. Every card is a task, and each list, right, is a stage. You literally just watch your progress happen before your eyes. So whether it's a big product you're trying to launch or a simple QA/QC bug you're trying to fix, you have a bird's eye view of how things are moving in your board. Now, this is incredibly helpful during sprint planning or your daily stand-up or even product demos, because your board becomes your team's reality, more like a shared reality. And now number two, we have simple structure. Trello runs on three major things, and those are boards, lists, and cards. A board is your project, like your product or your sprint, while a list is a column, like your backlog, a progress, to do, and done. While the card itself is a task or item of work that you have in your column. Right now, no extra talk here, right? This means that your entire team can start using it the minute you upload it. Your designers, your devs, everybody can start using it. The third one, we have cross-functional friendliness. Trello isn't just for PMs now. If you might be wondering if only product managers get to use Trello board. No, Trello is very vast. It's built for general collaboration. You can tag your teammates, you can drop links, you can drop screenshots, you can, leave comments directly on somebody's tasks, and you can add checklists, due dates, you can even attach a file on Trello. Now, this means that each card simply becomes like a hub for everything related to that particular task. So now it doesn't necessarily have to be a product management task. Now, it also creates transparency, right? Everyone sees what is going on, who owns a particular task, and how, the progress of that particular task is going. That is the beautiful part of Trello. And then we also have custom workflows for PM realities. No two product teams work exactly the same. Some persons might be doing strict Scrum with Sprint. Others might be more fluid, like doing the whole Kanban or hybrid method. Trello basically lets you design your own workflow. You can name your list to whatever matches your team's process, like backlog or sprint, in progress, done or QAQC, however it is that you want to name it, right? You can also create separate boards. You can create separate boards, one for bugs, one for feature planning, one for user research, and so on. Now, you're not boxed into any way of working, basically. It is vast and you can freestyle with it. Trello is perfect for PMs that are working in a fast paced, lean, or cross-functional structure, right? Because it is not rigid. So the cross-functional team are going to make very good use of it more. Now, it gives you power to control your team. And most importantly, it helps you focus on the real work, which is basically building and shipping great products. So let's look at some key elements of Trello. Everything in Trello is structured around just three elements, which are you have the boards, the list, and cards. Once you understand these, you can pretty much navigate and use Trello like a pro, right? Let me try and break down each of these elements. Now you have the board. Think of the board like I said, a project hub or your basic whiteboard in a room. Each board is a high-level container for all the work related to the product or the feature, the sprint, or your team entirely. For example, if you're managing a money transfer app, you might create a board called app redesign, right? Or user research initiative, depending on whatever feature it is you want to start working on. Now, boards can be shared with a team and they are where your workflow reside or lives. Then we have lists. List is inside a board. You organize your work into columns called lists. This represents stages or categories. A common PM workflow might be backlog, like I mentioned, to do, in progress, and so on. Now, each list holds a card that helps everyone see how tasks are going, how they flow from the idea to the delivery. And then we have cards. Now, cards are your individual unit of work, more like the action item. Each card could be a user story, a bug fix, a design task, or even a meeting agenda. Cards are, you know, like I said, they could be your user story. They hold details. They have checklists, they have comments. You can add an attachment to a card, and it allows your team collaborate within, the card. The beauty of Trello is that these three elements are simple, but they are also very, very unique. And everything else in Trello, the automations, the views, we have power ups, and many more, they kind of build on top of these three elements: the boards, the list, and the cards. I hope you guys are following. So today we are not going to talk too much. We're just going to go into hands-on to see how we can use Trello. I'm going to reshare my screen so that we see how Trello works. Okay, give me a sec while I try to reshare. Okay, confirm you can see my screen, please. And confirm what you're seeing. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can see your workspaces.
All right, thank you very much. That is what you're supposed to see. Okay, so this is Trello, right? I'm just going to go straight to the point and explain how this works and what you do basically when you go to your browser, right? So first of all, you open your browser and you go to Trello.com. I am already here, as you can see. You go to Trello.com. Now, when you get to Trello.com, you basically just click on sign up, and then it gives you a few options or a few ways to register. You could either register with your email or by connecting your Google account. Use whatever is the fastest for you. Once you're signed up, Trello is going to ask you to create something called a workspace, which is where I'm at right now. Now, think of a workspace like a folder. It's a container for all your boards, and usually one workspace is for one team or one project group. For example, if we're working on a money transfer app, I can call my workspace money transfer, money transfer team or something like that. That's, our group. So the step 2 will be to create your first board. That is why I opened here, so that I'm going to show us how to do that. Now, remember, a board is like your product dashboard or your project dashboard. Every board is for a specific project or a specific sprint or a specific, focus area. So let's create a workspace. Now we are going to give this workspace a name. Let's call it, let's say we are calling it a KYC verification flow. Right? Since that's the feature I want us to focus on in this whole money transfer app that we have been using. Now you see an option to choose, workspace type. So you have operations, small business, education, and so on. So we're just going to pick, or let's pick other. Now, workspace description. This is optional. You can add your description, or you can just go ahead and click on continue. Now, as you can see, we now have our workspace created, right? So when you come here, the next thing you have to do is to create your first board. So we are going to click on create new board. Now remember, a board, like I said, is like your dashboard. Every board is for a specific project or sprint or focus area, right? Now, let us try to customize this board. Sorry, I think I mixed that up. We have to rename. Okay. let's just call it the KYC verification. This KYC verification was supposed to be for the board, but that's fine. KYC verification flow. Let's do that. So it's going to ask you to select the visibility of this your board, and well, let's just leave it at workspace. All members of the KYC verification flow workspace can see and edit this board. So let's leave it at that. You can either start with a template or you can, create from scratch. We are not going to start with a template. We're just going to create, right? And this is where we are, right? Okay, this is where we are. As you can see, you're now inside the board. You notice the screen looks like columns side by side, right? I need to escape. Mm, all right. Okay, yeah. So we're just going to move this. As you can see, they look like columns, right, side to side. All right, now these columns are called your lists. List represents stages in your workflow. As you can see over here, there's a default title to it. You have your to-do, you have your doing, you have your done, and you can add another list, right? They help show where each task is currently, right? The stage of each task, right? Like, is it just an idea or is someone working on it? If someone is working on it, you know that it's in to do or in progress and so on. So let's create these lists together. We already have to do, but I would like for us to start with, let me add a list. I would like for us to start with backlog. Backlog, good. As you can see, we have backlog. Now, the beautiful thing about this is it's not the first, right? So in order to make it the first, all you have to do is drag. All you have to do is drag this to the first. As you can see, it brings it all the way over here. Right, it becomes the first because your backlog should always be your first, right? Your backlog should be your first list. And then you have your to-do, you have doing. I would like to add, rename this doing to, remember these are the default name that came with it. I would like to rename this doing to in progress. So in progress. And then you have this done should be to be reviewed. And then you can come here and add QAQC. Right? And then you can add done. That did not add list, right? So you have your list ready. Now you can always click on the plus icon to add another list like I did. Now, this step, I think this is step 4. Step 4 is cards, right? Cards are very important. Each card is a task. It could be a user story, a bug, a meeting note, or even a reminder, depending on what project you are trying to you're using the Trello board for. So let's create in our backlog, let's add a card. Right, let's add a card, and our card is going to be a user story. Since this is a KYC, the user story that we should use should be as a user, I want to upload a valid. Oh no, let's write it the proper way. Let's use our user story standard. User can upload a valid ID for account verification. Yeah, did I get that right? Yes, account verification. So you have added your card, and now you can add card. You see that there. Now, you can add more than one. This is the first one. Let's add a bit more. User can okay. User can mm, click on done, something like that. You can keep adding more. You can keep adding more as you go. So now, another thing you need to do is click on one of these cards. When you click on it, it's going to expand. Good. Dismiss. So this is the card you created, right? It has expanded. You can add a description for either your designer or your developer, a quick description of, what this particular user story should carry. So this is where you basically explain, this is where you explain the task, right? The task, what's the user trying to do to your designer or to your dev? What's the user trying to do? What's the business goal of this user story? And so on. So I'm just imputing this. You can use the actual description for the user story that you have imputed. Now, you save this. Please do not forget to save, right? And then you have things like labels. You can click on the label. And now, if it's your first time of using Trello, this is going to pop up. Your labels will have no labels, if that works. So you have to give them a label, right? So you can come here and edit your label. You can use this green. I don't like the shade. Let's use this green for done. Or no, let's use this green for, let's say when it's for QAQC. When it's for QAQC, you can use this shade of green. You save that. And then when it's this yellow, it can be in progress. In progress, you save it. When it has this orange color, depending on what you want to use. When it's red, it can be a bug. You save. And so on, right? Just keep labeling as you see fit. So now let's add a label to this user story. And for this is, sorry, I think we made an error. Let's rework this. Let's rework this. UI. Let's just use design, not UI. Design. Yeah, let's use design. Save. And let's use this for mobile. Mobile. Mobile, save that. Remember, if you don't save it, it's not going to save. And then let's use this for back end. You save that, and then I can use this one for front end. Front end. You can add front end dev, back end dev, depending on how you want it to be formatted. We have design, we have front end dev, back end dev, mobile app dev. Let's write it very well. Mobile app dev. Save that, and I think we can stop there. So now this is our story. Let's say this is for design. You have selected that, right? And then you can add a checklist. That is, if this particular user can upload a valid ID for account verification. If you have more than one task inside of this user story, that is when you can add a checklist. But if you do not, you can just skip that part. And now this part where you have members, you can now add people, right? Let me just assign it to myself. These are the people that are part of the team and the people who are in charge of this. So as you can see, we have added everything that needed to be added. So now as a product manager, when you assign a task to somebody, you can come here, this part where you have watch, and you can just click on it, right, to watch that particular task. This is so that whatever that person is doing in this, whatever that person is doing here, right, inside this card, you get to see. If the person moves the card, you'll be notified. If the person leaves a comment or, attaches a file or anything, you get notified, right? So we have done that to this card, as you can see it right here. It has reflected the email address of the person who is, in charge of that task and everything else. Now, this is the dummy email address I am using for that. So your attachment, right? I didn't talk about that attachment. Attachment here is maybe a link. It could be linked to screenshots, Figma files, or whatever documentation that is going to help your team, achieve this particular task that you have just assigned. So now I have showed us how to move cards between lists, right? Let us do this. Let's say you now want to assign this to somebody. You've done all the assigning. What the person does is come here and moves this into to do, right? This is the to do. You have moved it. You just drag and drop. You drag and drop this in your to do, right? Once you move a task forward, you basically just do the drag and drop the card from your backlog to do, and then eventually to in progress, and then Q&A, and then done, and so on. The movement of cards basically tells you what stage the task is in, right? This is what we call a Kanban style workflow. It gives you a visual of how the work is flowing. It's a Kanban workflow, so it gives you a visual of how the work is flowing. So to invite people, right? To invite team members. Now, let's say you're not working alone, which you, as a PM, you won't be working alone. You can invite people to your team. You can invite people to this board. So you click. Please confirm you can still hear me.
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. So you come to these three dots right here, and you click on the share. You click on share, and then you add their email addresses, right? And this is a pro feature, so we're not going there. So you add the email address and you just click on share. It's as simple as that. Also, you can use the comments. You can use the comments to collaborate. Let's say I click on this task I just created. Each card has a comment section at the bottom, right? This is it right here. This is the comment. Use it for updates, use it for reminders, or use it for question. You can use at, this is after you have invited people to your workspace. You can use at this person, or whoever is that. Since this is the email we are using right now, let's use that. You can use at. Now, kindly do this differently, or whatever comment you have to attach there, right? This helps reduce, back and forth on maybe getting into a meeting or calling up the person over the phone and so on. When you use at the person's email address, the person is immediately notified via their mail, and then they get to see that, oh, they have a comment, right? And you save your comments. It's sending, and it is going to, send to the person. So another way, Trello is a web-based app, but for efficiency, you can download the mobile app on Play Store. Now you sign in after downloading, you just sign in. You have access to your board at any time, and you can also move cards, you reply to comments, or check deadlines. Right? It's easy for you to be able to use on the go. Now, I hope, do we have any questions so far? I hope I'm not too fast. Do we have any questions? This is a hands-on. You can always ask questions when I explain. So I want to believe we all understand what I just explained so far.
Ah. We'll take our time, man. It's just the first time we're opening it. We'll see.
Okay, Elizabeth understands, John understands, Rose understands. Okay, that is great. So what you do basically, let me just recap, is you sign up, you create your workspace, you create a focus board for your project, you add lists, right, that reflects your team's workflow, you add cards, as your actual task, and then you fill out the necessary informations that you have to fill out, and then you fill the cards with useful infos like your checklist, your due dates, your labels, and so on. And then you can drag your cards through the workflow, more like a visual product tracking, and you can invite your team to work with you, and you can use comments to async collaboration as well, and you can use the mobile app, of course. So that is it. This setup alone can help you manage a product from idea to delivery without, paying for the pro version. There is a pro version, of course, but you do not necessarily have to pay for the pro version. So Let me stop sharing this and reshare. Okay, I am going to reshare in a bit to basically show us how to upload your user stories from Trello from a Google Sheet rather to your Trello board. That is a very, very important feature we need to know about. So give me a sec to share my screen. I'm just going to quickly pause. I was saying there's something called Power Ups, as you can see this right here. Power Ups is used to get extensions, right, for your Trello workspace. Okay, so by the time you want to start uploading tasks from your Google spreadsheet to Trello, you should have already put together your user stories, task title, arrange them properly on your spreadsheet before you actually get to putting them on, Trello. Now, how do you do that? I am going to just show you how to do that. So let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. I'm going to be showing you a spreadsheet, right? That I have some, list of tasks. Here, so if you see the way I arranged this spreadsheet, I have the Unito ID, I have the task title, I have description, I have due date, priority, and last modified. You need it arranged like this to be able to upload it to Trello. Now, how do you upload it to Trello? What you do is, after you have arranged your spreadsheet like this, you come to where you have your file and you have to download it as a comma separated values. That is your CSV. You have to download it as a CSV file and then you just save that. Okay, that has downloaded and that is what you're going to be uploading to Trello. Now I'll stop sharing this and just reshare Trello. I just needed to show us how to arrange your sheet properly before you upload it to Trello board. So yes, we are about to share Trello again. Okay, so now you're in Trello. This is what we call power ups. I'm just going to click on these power ups. Right. As you can see, you have different features here, different power ups feature, right? You have the two-way card mirror, you have the service desk, you have card relationship with Trello, and many more. So we are just going to look for the spreadsheet integration. As you can see, you also have Google Drive integrations here. So we are going to look for you have Excel plus Trello two-way sync right here. So we are going to use that. Let's use Excel plus Trello. Now you click on add, right? You add this. Now it's going to pop up some basic information for you. You go through them. That's that. So now you come here. This has been enabled. You come to this place where you see this. This has been enabled. Right. It has been enabled. So what you now do is